past the hour, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today for the webinar on how to make your online reputation your next competitive advantage. This is a great intro for the do's and don'ts for direct selling. To introduce myself, my name is Raquel Sims. I run the customer success department and partnerships here at PromoRpeublic. And I want to also welcome and thank Katrina Eash for joining us. Can you hear us, Christina? Or Katrina,
yes,
sorry?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm very glad to be here. I'm a partner at Winston & Strawn, and I specialize in direct selling, defense, and advising.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you here. I know our participants are really eager to hear directly from you from the legal side, the do's, the don'ts, the advice that you're going to share with us today. So thank you again for joining.
Glad to be here.
In terms of the agenda today, we are going to dive into why your online reputation should be your #1 priority, the latest marketing trends and insights for the direct sales industry, your online reputation breakdowns and what that means in terms of liability, the real costs of misleading claims, and the 5 do's and don'ts of direct selling online compliance. And at the end, we'll have a very robust question and answer session. So if you have any questions or want to jump in at any moment in time today, there are 2 ways that you're able to participate with Katrina and I. The first is the chat box. So feel free to say hi, where you're joining from today, or ask any questions there. Otherwise, we have the formal question and answer box that you can ask, and we'll either answer those along the way, or we'll circle back to the most frequently asked questions towards the end. So feel free to interact with us, but let's get started. So we do know that the online reputation is absolutely everything for the direct sales industry. It's the fastest way we're now finding information, and it's really great that in this day and age, everyone has access to information at their fingertips. Online reputation is basically become the census of public opinion of your individual or an organization based on the online presence, based on your behavior or the thoughts of customers. And this means that with the availability of information, customers are now becoming smarter. They have a lot of information, as mentioned, at their fingertips. So they're researching products, the people, virtually anything that they're going to be involved with before making a decision that impacts them either financially or personally, or whatever way the decision impacts you. And the direct selling industry is actually seeing this affecting their business overall more than almost any other industry. For direct sales organizations, it's not uncommon for the vast majority of potential shoppers to first search for reviews, gather information, take a look before joining. And we see so many different variables on the online presence and reputation management here, such as, the social media channels, YouTube, and so on. So this online reputation is really important because it is tied into search engine reviews, and companies must protect their online image, or they run the risk of losing their credibility there, as well as sales, which we are here to prevent. So whether this information is true or not online, it's really important for companies to keep an eye on this and make sure that they are controlling the narrative to put them in the best light possible. We're seeing that reputation for a brand is made up of really 2 parts. The first is all of your marketing efforts that we know that you hired, the best and brightest minds that you're putting all of your best effort into, putting that company narrative out into the world, and also 50% liability prevention. This is really important to have this holistic approach, this 50-50, because we want you to protect the business overall by empowering your team. So it's really important to work to develop a really strong social media presence for your founders, owners, executive, key leaders, and other stakeholders, because many businesses are defined by the people that work for them. And it's not uncommon to search for individual people so you can see what they're all about and to see if you're joining an organization that matches your ethos. So this is really I think important in the world and the narrative, you can see if you're searching Tim Cook, if you're looking for Apple, or if you're searching, in a random example, Steph Curry, if you're looking for the Golden State Warriors. So you also do have to curate that top level social media presence and marketing presence. So let's take a look at what that marketing side of the industry is first, and then we'll have Katrina dive into that liability and legal side of things as well. So overall, the state of marketing, searching on Google is where everyone essentially gets introduced. They're searching your business, your people, your product name, and they're essentially looking at the first 5 listings automatically. So it's really important to keep a track of if you are in the first 5 listings. If you're not, you have to do your work to improve that search ranking. Are the links that you're seeing positive? Not everyone's a happy customer. That's no problem. Every organization, regardless of size, if they're just starting out or if they're well established for years, has problems like this. So just make sure that that first impression that you show on Google is a positive experience. And then you also want to highlight your thought leadership. Is there evidence of that expertise out there? Are you sharing articles? Are you sharing information that is drawing people to you, as well as, any potential fires that need to be addressed that are making up your overall Google ranking here? And we have seen a complete shift in the direct selling marketing or apparatus. Sorry, my mouse went a little crazy here, by the overall pandemic that we've been in for a while now. This has been the way that most businesses have been transformed. Last March, everything digitized almost in a week because we went from conducting our business as usual to now going into virtual absolutely everything. And this term of digital transformation was a sigh-inducing buzzword, so to speak. The phrase was really vaguely implied that businesses were really forward-thinking and in the modern sense of the State of the Union. But now this digital transformation was really important across, again, all industries here. So we saw that the technology was adopted very quickly. Tech stacks were rolled out across several organizations, and the customers, how they're interacting with businesses of all industries, were really changed rapidly. And you can see that here, which outlines the digital adoption and how that has really taken a leap forward. Customers moved dramatically towards online channels of all types, and companies and industries obviously had to respond as a result. This survey highlights the rapid shift towards interacting with customers through digital channels more and more. And it also highlights the rates of adoption, which is years ahead of where they were previously. So this is even more developed in Asia and other regions outside of the US. Nowadays, respondents are 3 times likelier to do 80% of their consumer interactions in a digital sense. And this also includes asking for referrals, feedback from their network. Are they posting on Facebook and saying, hey, do you know X, Y, and Z? And that invites the colleagues and friends to interact with them as well and network and really get word of mouth out there. We also see that Deloitte highlighted that 43% of businesses with a high digital maturity experience net profits that are significantly higher than average compared to those that are with lower digital maturities. And what we mean by that is the ability to have that online presence, interactions, that full tech stack that surrounds this. So digital transformations have really and almost suddenly become crucial for businesses, again, across all industries. Direct selling industries is perhaps at the forefront of this as well, because those are undergoing tech-centric re-imaging, really helps them achieve this new business model in this new digital first era. I myself am very guilty of conducting and almost preferring to conduct my day-to-day online or through networking and through friends, because I'm able to research, as highlighted earlier, the products, the benefits, everything within a few clicks, whereas before we were doing all of that in person. Social media has also become one of the key places to buy during the COVID pandemic, which is one of the more interesting sites of change here. It is the #1 promotional tool used by DSA companies and has a much higher importance for direct selling organizations when compared to SEO websites or affiliate trafficking. And this is really interesting because a lot of the social media channels also added very instantaneously during the pandemic shoppable ways or more interactive ways to engage with your audience on social media, whether that was Instagram adding more connect with me features on business pages where you can instantaneously interact with someone, or Facebook adding more shoppable ways as well. So social media was really quick to respond here, and you can see what that sales growth looks like as well. The impact of the pandemic has been significant in terms of social commerce, and that change is here to stay. And we do see that, as mentioned before, affecting the online reputation and the overall cycle of this. This change in behavior changes that they're searching for all of these things online now as opposed to in store. And every company out there is going to have reviews if they are growing. And even the most respected companies, as highlighted earlier, do have these negative reviews from time to time. So it's inevitable that you can't run away from them, but it's all about how, as an organization or as a seller, that you are responding to this. About 50% of those consumers that are shopping locally as a result of conducting these searches within 24 hours. So it's really, again, important that you are making these connections on social media, that you are thinking of your holistic approach on social, not only as a direct selling organization, but encouraging your representatives to do so in the same vein, because they're not only a part of your organization, but they're developing their personal brand as well. And you can see this in the different levels here. In the Direct Selling Association's 2020 Consumer Attitudes and Entrepreneurship Study, it shows that a vast majority of people, and when we say vast majority, this is 80%, it holds a favorable impression of direct sales organizations. And we know that the industry has a history of battling criticism and consequences of a negative public perception, but we have really seen this change during COVID. We saw a lot of people grow, and the direct selling organizations grow during this. So this is really interesting to do. And there are challenges with this as well. But the first aspect that we want to cover is managing the overall industry reputation, because there are highs and there are lows here, as Katrina will highlight in a moment. The next aspect, as you can see here, is highlighting the corporate reputation. So this is the individual direct selling companies overall, and this is perhaps the most important piece of the puzzle. This is impacted not only cumulatively by the distributors, but which also affects the reputation of the company overall. But this is also that it factor, so to speak. So this is what makes it so special and the little spark behind the most profitable and beloved brands. It's almost that vibe, so to speak, that lets customers feel confident and to join and spend their money and network within the organization. And that sets the standards here. So this is really important here, but with this also comes some challenges like how to train new joiners and so on, and which is all a part of the corporate reputation and responsibility as well. And the last piece here is the distributor's reputation themselves. As mentioned, when they're joining, they're not only joining your organization overall, but they are joining and developing their personal brand. So they are aware of the necessity of social media, but perhaps they're not aware of how to do this and where to get started. And that's why it's important that not only is the reputation at corporate important here to assist them through the training phases, but they also need to understand that they have to embrace the digital revolution and social media as a core of that. And this is really paramount to having an overall positive online reputation, each piece of the puzzle here. And a positive online reputation really needs to be at the forefront of every direct selling organization's agenda moving forward, because this is what's going to differentiate you in the market and help your representatives feel motivated And this is really going to change the perception of the organizations overall. But with this does come certain nuances and challenges, and there's no better person to go into all of this detail than Katrina Eash, who, as mentioned, is a partner at Winston & Strawn, and she's recognized as a trailblazer for her work defending and advising direct selling organizations. So with that, what I'll do is I'll pass this over to Katrina, who will highlight the state of legal and what that means for specific direct selling organizations.
Absolutely. Thank you, Raquel. Well, as I said, it's lovely to be here today. Raquel has raised some really good points about making sure that all of our direct sellers have the best online reputation. The problem is that with online reputation comes public scrutiny, and importantly, it brings the scrutiny of the FTC and plaintiffs' attorneys that are looking for deep pockets. Most of the direct sellers that we represent, they're very successful because this model works and it works well. So plaintiffs' attorneys have figured that out too, and they're always out there looking for the low-hanging fruit. And where they start is online. They start online looking for companies that are making improper income and product claims. And then they backdoor that into an allegation that the company is misrepresenting their business opportunity and or their products, and thereby engaging in essentially creating a pyramid scheme and engaging in RICO violations or securities laws violations. We have seen multiple direct selling entities get sued with these allegations recently. And every single one of them, the allegations and the complaints, either from the FTC or the plaintiff's attorney, start with those claims that the FTC or the plaintiff's attorney could find online. A distributor out there saying that, you know, hey, leave your job, come join X company, and we can replace that income in 6 months. Or even something as small as, hey, you need some additional income to supplement your your lifestyle. Come join me and you can make $400 a month, or you can make $200 a month. The problem with those claims is, for the most part, direct selling companies cannot support the claims with their income disclosure statements. Only the top 1% are actually making that type of money. Nothing wrong with that. As long as we get our online reputation and statements correct, and we're out there policing the distributor field. So let's jump in real quick and get into a little bit more specifics. If you could go to slide 3 for me. There we go. All right, so why do we care about misleading income claims? Again, it's because the FTC is out there combing the internet, looking for those claims and coming after direct sellers that are making those claims. You do not want to end up on the FTC's radar. You will quickly deplete yourself of substantial cash if you end up on the FTC's radar and going back and forth with the FTC. So the FTC, there's a Federal Trade Commission Act, and it gives the FTC the power to protect consumers from false or misleading claims. The FTC has made clear that there are 3 primary types of false or misleading claims. Product claims. Those are claims about your products or services that cannot be supported via direct scientific evidence type of stuff. Income earning claims. These are the ones that cause the biggest issue because they're everywhere. They're claims about how much a person can or has earned by participating in the direct selling opportunity. Typically, they're overinflated claims. And the companies just can't support the fact, a statement that their distributors are likely to make $200 a month or something like that. Lifestyle claims. They're also an issue that in recent years, we haven't seen as many lifestyle claims. Distributors are kind of getting it. They don't need to be posting pictures of themselves next to their Ferrari saying, #thank you, XX direct selling company, whatever the direct selling company is. That is a lifestyle claim. We don't see as many of those anymore. So we can go to the next slide real quick. We are living in a time of heightened scrutiny for these claims, and in particular product claims. If the FTC finds a product claim that is tied to COVID and the efficacy of a product in preventing or helping a person get over COVID, they are going to come down hard on that direct selling company. So the direct selling company needs to not only watch out for what its distributors are saying, but also needs to watch out very carefully for what they're saying. We have seen some companies that are kind of getting on the edge of trying to say that their products can cure or prevent COVID. There should flat be no statement about what a product can or cannot do in relation to COVID at this point in time, because as far as I know, there is no actual scientific study out there that ties any product to being able to prevent, treat, or cure COVID. So that's just kind of a no-no. Don't mention COVID, don't mention the pandemic, none of that in how your products work or the efficacy of your products. Tied to that, the FTC is also out there looking for claims that or advertisements such as, oh, we're in a down economy, COVID has hit us hard, come join us, we can fill the hole in your revenue that was left by COVID. Any types of claims that reference the economic crisis tied to COVID or anything along those lines must be avoided. I cannot overstate, the direct selling companies need to be out there looking for these. Number one, they need to make sure they don't make them themselves. They need to scrub their advertisements to make sure that there is nothing out there that ties their product or business opportunity to COVID or the economic situation. Number two, you need to be checking your distributors. Distributors, COVID has been great for the direct selling industry, but sometimes distributors don't realize what they can and cannot say. So if you're using, which you should be, some sort of scrubbing tool, maybe like Field Watch or something along those lines. I know there's some other options out there. If you're using those, you need to be searching for COVID related terms in addition to the terms that, like your company's name and COVID, your company's name and pandemic, things like that. So you are making sure your distributors are not making those claims. And why? Let's go to the next slide. Steep liability if the FTC finds these claims. $43,000 per misleading claim, and the FTC has not been shy about enforcing this. Okay, so that's why do we care? Well, because the FTC is out there looking for these claims. Plaintiffs' attorneys are out there looking for these claims, and number three, you've got the increased pressure from COVID. So let's talk about real quick, slide 6. Who can be held liable for these claims? One thing that I often run into with the companies I advise is the company saying, hey, it's my distributors out there that are making these claims. I can't control them. Doesn't matter. The FTC will hold you liable, the company liable for distributor claims. Now, the FTC is not only going to hold the company liable, though. The company will be held liable for any claims. Its executives are almost certainly going to be sued too, and those top level distributors that are out there making the claims. And if you have a problem distributor, which we run into on occasion, a leading distributor that's kind of like, I'm going to say whatever I want to say. We have found it helpful and have helped our clients to craft letters to these distributors to explain to them, hey, you have to stop doing this. You have to cease and desist. You have to remove it. And you need to understand that there is a lot of potential liability out there for you too. I mean, Advocare is a great example of that. There were 2 distributors that settled for $4.1 million, and that's not even including their attorney's fees. So, make sure that it's not just the company that you're keeping tabs on, but also your executives and your distributors, because they will get gobbled up in these lawsuits as well if there's any claims out there that can be tied to them. All right, so let's talk about what you really want to hear about. How do I not make income claims? How do I stay off the FTC's radars and, you know, stay away from plaintiffs' attorneys? Let's go to slide 7, please. So the key to making sure that, or to staying off of the radar and staying, you know, compliant, is to make sure that all of your claims are accurately representing the business opportunity and what the participants are likely to earn. So what does that really mean? It means that you have to focus on typicality. The company cannot be representing anything that's not based off of what the typical distributor earns. So take a look at your income disclosure statement. Most of you likely have an income disclosure statement, and if you don't have one, you should get one. And if it shows that the vast majority of your distributors are making only, you know, $20, $30 a month, maybe even less than that, that's okay. That's normal for most direct selling companies. But you certainly cannot be out there making any representations that your company's distributors are, if they join the business opportunity, are likely to make substantial sums. Rather, the messaging, the marketing message has to be that the business opportunity creates a chance for distributors to earn modest additional income, and, you know, and then you could have your very successful distributors explain their experience. But you also have to, put at the very top the disclosure, my results are not typical. My results came from years of hard work and lots of dedication. With doing that, I was able to make good money as a distributor. I was able to leave my full-time job. But that does not work if there is not a robust disclosure that your top-level distributors are not typical. And it cannot, and it should not be expected. You also have to have disclosure in that same example of, you know, your very successful people. You have to have a disclosure that leads the reader to the income disclosure statement, a little link at the bottom or at the top that says to see this, typical earnings for our distributors. Please visit X, and it should be a direct link. So if the company is out there showing anything more than modest earnings, mucho disclosures, and you better make sure that what your distributor is representing as his experience is absolutely true. There are some times when even a disclosure isn't going to be enough. There are some statements that just can't even be fixed by a disclosure. Something along the lines of a distributor going out there saying, come join my X company and make 6 figures. Can't ever fix that it's just never going to work. So you've got to be on the lookout for those too. If your distributors are representing their experiences and their experience is anything more than modest earning, mucho disclosures that they are not typical and what is typical. Okay, so let's talk about those disclosures. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. Yeah, next slide. Went back for some reason. Perfect. Okay, so if a disclosure is going to save you, it has to be done in the right way. The DSSRC has actually provided some really good advice on how to do correct disclosures. The DSSRC is the Direct Selling Self-Regulatory Commission, and you can go on their website and get all kinds of good information about how to do your disclosures. here's kind of what we do when we are looking at a potential income claim and helping our clients decide how to fix it. We look at the presentation. Is the disclaimer up top in plain English with no jargon and completely understandable? Does it flat out say, my experiences are not typical and they have come from lots of hard work? If it doesn't, then it's probably not enough. Is it prominent? Again, is it up front? Is it big size? Is it big color? Is it, next to the picture of the person with their family in front of their mansion and explaining how successful they've been, right? So prominence. And that also covers placement and proximity. You really need to look at these 3 key things in deciding whether your disclosure is going to get you there. And please be careful with hashtags. I've seen companies use hashtags and being like, it's not that big of a deal. It just says hashtag earn more. Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but you have to look at the overall context and you have to, again, go back to typicality. Does this claim that the company is making represent anything more than the typical results? And if not, you better go through that disclosure process, and you better make sure that it's even a claim that can be saved by a disclosure. So I always end up with a ton of questions when I dive into how to appropriately make disclosures and to frame typicality. So I don't know, Raquel, do we want to take those questions now, or would we prefer to wait till the end? I know you have a few more slides.
Yeah, we can ask one right now. We do have, what is the company that can help with making disclosure statements? So I think that's a great plug.
Oh, yeah. So if you do not have a disclosure statement, we recommend that you work with a lawyer that has done them before and can help you craft one appropriately. Of course, we do that. Yeah, so I mean, reach out to us. We can give you a quote on what it would take. It's not that hard to put together an income disclosure statement. Really, it just takes some time with your BI team, with your business intelligence team, and you can easily put together an income disclosure statement.
Okay, great. I think that's all the questions for now, but we'll circle back for questions towards the end of the webinar. So I want to thank you, Katrina, for really diving into.
Yeah, I see Valerie had one question here. Maybe she only sent it to me. Valerie Grayson, I'm curious, what is the percentage of successful cases from direct sales companies against the FTC? So I believe what you're asking is, has a direct sales company ever prevailed when an FTC investigation has been brought against the direct sales company? So yes, that has happened, and I'm sure you guys are all aware of Amway. Amway was a very successful opinion for the direct sales industry. It kind of established the whole rule that you need to have 70% of your revenue going to end user sales, and provided some other guidance for direct sales companies. That decision came out quite a while ago. And there have really been no seminal cases like that since then. And let me tell you why. The FTC, if you get on their radar, will send you what's called a confidential information disclosure request, a CID. And when they do that, they're going to accuse you of making false and misleading income and product claims. And they're going to tell you, we want to engage in discovery to find out whether you're a pyramid scheme. You'll go back and forth with the FTC, likely for upwards of a year and a half, 2 years. I know that recently Miriam went back and forth with the FTC for multiple years. I think it was almost 3 years with this CID procedure. And I know Miriam spent millions of dollars trying to respond to those CIDs and convince the FTC that they were a legitimate direct sales company. Ultimately, the That didn't work, and Miriam is now in litigation with the FTC, and they're fighting. They are fighting hard to create another set of case law that shows that direct selling companies will be successful in litigation with the FTC. But they are really the only ones that are fighting FTC allegations right now that I'm aware of. There are tons of other companies that have settled and created what we call what we end up with is a consent judgment. So essentially, they say to the FTC, we're not admitting liability, but what we'll do is we'll change our business opportunity in this way, and we'll pay some money to address consumer harm previously, and we'll settle with you, FTC. And so, I mean, you've got like Herbalife that did that. You've got Advocare that did that. There's numerous examples. So most of the time, direct sales companies kind of fold when the FTC comes in. But hopefully we'll get some new law out of the Miriam case that will be beneficial to direct selling companies in fighting the FTC.
Really great question and even more insightful answer. So thank you for that. Before we dive into any questions, or if you have any other questions, feel free to throw them in the question and answer box or the chat box. We'll come back to them. But we also did want to leave you with some tips to close out today, which are the 5 do's and don'ts for direct sales. Obviously, Katrina went through the biggest do's and don'ts overall regarding the legal side of things, but also to dive into the overall approach coming from the marketing and legal side, we do want to highlight again these 5 key tips. So it's really important that you do provide accurate product messaging, and you want to ask yourself, is what I'm communicating necessary, timely, and is it brief? And this is in the scope of social media and sharing product information there. And you want to make sure that what you're saying truly helps the product audience and is really relevant given the context of the day and the social media platform and so on. So this is really important in the era of really fast pace and attention deficit communications. The average person pays 1 second of attention to each post. So if you're capturing their information, it's important to have a go-to list of really simple and consistent key messaging that you can reference. And this helps you keep consistent tone in all of your materials and distributables. And it's important to be empathetic using this external messaging during emotional times and so on. So this is why the first insight is to highlight accurate and product messaging. It's also really important as well to upgrade that compliance piece. I know Katrina did highlight this a little bit in terms of monitoring what's out there, scanning, and so on. And companies that are focused on building outstanding reputations need to actually pay attention to how they're presenting themselves to the world. As you highlighted, Amway became one of the first direct selling organizations not only to win an opinion, but they also were one of the first to create a role of a chief reputation officer, the CRO, within its executive team, really highlighting the importance of someone to check the reputation. And policing is still a vital element to maintain lawful and compliance within the distributor base. The new focus is also to give resources to enable distributors to have a little bit of free rein and leeway to build their personal brand and to run their business with integrity and stay true to the careful brand approach that you have curated at the company level. So this set operating of standard procedures is really important, especially because if a crisis happens, whether that's from distributors all the way up to the C-suite, you want to make sure that this is appropriate for all of the core values that you do have within your organization. In terms of a don't, it's important not to overlook your social media reputation. As highlighted, the past year and a half has really made a pivotal switch to a social first landscape, and social media is really here to stay. Not only are individuals becoming more and more comfortable buying directly through social media through links found there, but search results are showing that these are excellent sources of the shopping funnel overall. Every company should be focused on creating their social media profiles, curating them, and keeping them active. And Twitter is as great as Google now, because it is really indexing tweets, gives you a direct line of communication out there. So it's almost the voice that you are able to share with the world. This also means focusing on your main social platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and even LinkedIn and Twitter as well. Having them connected, if not in the same name, is really important, as well as this is curating that brand's reputation and strategy overall and makes it seem professional and can help with ranking and keywords. So the more information that goes into your social media profiles overall, the better chance that you are of having getting ranked overall. So this is really important to keep social media active as well. And we also want to highlight what not to do in terms of your distributors, because I think, as Katrina said, each one does their own business. They're running their own business, and it's hard to keep every single last one a pulse on them. That's why scanning for compliance is really important. But we also don't want to overestimate their capabilities. It's really important to know what they're good at, which is this building relationships. Maybe they're not marketers, or maybe they're not social media experts, or maybe they do have a really high competence with both social media and marketing, but it's really encouraging them with the right appropriate tools and content and information and education that helps them become confident and build their personal brands on social media. And this does come with a bit of training. You can have customized modules or different things like that, but really giving them the tools to succeed is what will help them in the long run. And the last aspect that helps overall with distributors is going to be, as mentioned, giving them those keys to the castle, so to speak, giving them tools that are tailored for direct selling brands, that are tailored to distributors, that helps them with their overall life cycle as a representative, whether that is social media overall, the compliance piece, as you mentioned, or going into relationship management as well. It's really important that at the head office, you're able to be confident that you're doing everything you can to be proactive in the online brand reputation that's being put out there into the world. And that highlights a little bit about what we do here at PromoRpeublic. We're a social selling suite for direct selling organizations that combines asset management, a great mobile app, and compliance monitoring that captures any misleading claims before they're posted on social media. So it's helping them have compliant content, being able to share their personal brand, and to catch compliance. So that's a little bit about what we do. And it's really, again, important overall to invest in the reputation while it's in good standing, because as Deloitte highlighted, a quarter of the reputation is directly attributed to this. Reputation problems have the biggest impact on the top line revenue and brand value overall. So with that, I want to thank you for your time today, and especially thank Katrina Eash from Winston & Strawn, highlighting the legal side of the overall reputation management for direct sales. So now we'll open it back up to any questions or feedback. So I do see one question from Anna regarding the which level of reputation is important for direct selling organizations. I would have to say with that would be corporate overall, because this is where the changes are made. And at this, as Katrina mentioned, this is where you have some of that liability mentioned here. So it's really important to keep an eye on this. Katrina, did you have any final words of wisdom or any questions that for us?
I do not. I guess I do have one word of wisdom. You know, Raquel mentioned training your distributors, and that cannot be overstated. When we are onboarding our distributors, we have to invest in the time to train them as to what is and is not compliant marketing materials for a direct selling company, because it's just weird. You know, even if they have a ton of experience running their own company and marketing themselves, they're not going to know about the ins and outs of what direct sellers are and are not allowed to represent about products and services. So training is so, so important. And another thing is actually giving your distributors tools. Have a dedicated server where they can easily go in, find what they're looking for about X product or about the business opportunity, and they can go out there and just recreate it on the, you know, on Instagram or whatnot. Give them the tools and give them the training, and hopefully you'll be able to fly under the radar.
Really great feedback and advice, essentially. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Training is not only from the product compliance, product claims side of things, but also on the social media side. You can train them to post really strategically and being compliant through that process. So training is very, very important. I do see one final question highlighting the where they can get additional information. So if you have any questions regarding social media compliance and maintaining that reputation through software, you can reach out to us at PromoRpeublic. If you're looking for any legal advice, definitely reach out to Katrina herself. She is, as mentioned, a trailblazer in the industry and has a lot of wisdom to share. So her contact information is on the screen here. I did want to thank you, Katrina, for all of your time and hard work and for joining us today.
Glad to do it. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. We'll be in touch.